What's up, survivors? It's Chief here. Welcome to the second part of the indoor lighting tutorial. I'll very briefly skim through the minor details here, which are just the setups for where the sun is, the environment change, and just the small stuff. So really, if you want to change the time of day, you should watch the first tutorial first, because that gives you the basic setup. What I'm gonna do here is just show you the minor changes I've made to the location of the sun, the color of the sun, the color of the environment, and also what's the final thing that I want to change? The ambient light. That's it. As you can see here, this is what the evening scene looks like with the same camera angle as before. I actually want to bring up my reference. This is what I referenced. You can see here they use a white wall. And by the way, I just typed in indoor sunset light. They use the white wall here, so it looks a lot whiter, but the sunlight is what I'm trying to replicate. This orangey light thing. And I think I did that pretty well with this on over here. So what I basically did, if we go on the outside, last tutorial, I had the sun over here shining through this big main window. Now that doesn't really make sense in my world because the sun sets where my mouse is. The sun rises over on this side and it sets on that side. So in reality, the sun shouldn't be coming through this window, but you should keep that in mind, that the sun doesn't keep jumping in places when you're doing your own animation. So anyway, I have the sun over here, it's setting on this side, and I have a light coming through this set of windows over here. The light has not changed at all with the volumetrics and all that sort of things, but I did change the color to a more warm orangish color. Now in my other video I said that you shouldn't set it way too orange, otherwise it would look unrealistic, but in this case it works because we're trying to replicate a really orangey light. Like I said, nothing here really has changed. Visibility is still the same, we're not using fall off, we have the shadow still on gray 100% hard. The windows are still excluded, but for whatever reason we don't see the visibility too well, so I'm just going to ignore that completely. If we look back at the reference over here, we can see that there is not much visible light anyway, so I would advise turning it off if you see it. So the ambient light hasn't changed much. Again, it's just a color change to match the entire sunlight thingy, the time of day. It's a lot more orange than it was before, a lot darker. Doesn't have to be as bright, doesn't have to be as pure white. We're moving on to the environment over in our physical sky. Sorry, the atmosphere, my bad, not the environment. What has changed here is actually the hue correction. Actually, no, it hasn't. It's exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, nothing's changed. And of course, if we go up to the sky is just exactly the same. Not much to it. Yeah. Alright, so now we get to the nighttime scene. Now, as you can see, clearly we have a lot more differences here. So the moon is on the other side of the building, as it does rise at the same side as the sun. So over here is the reference picture that I used. You can see the strong blue colors that it uses, as well as the God rays. It's actually a lot whiter than I'd like, so in my version I made it more blue, but you can still see the hints of white there. The very strong God rays coming from that window to the right hand side. Let's take a look at the changes made. We have, of course, the change in position of the light itself. It is over this side, shining through that one small window over here. This light itself, these are the colors that I used. Of course, these colors are up to you entirely. The shadow map has to change to soft. There are no I don't want to use hard shadows casted by the moon. To me, that doesn't feel right. For the volumetrics, I've had to crank the visibility up here from brightness 100 to brightness 200. If we go look at the ambient light's position is on the same side as where the moon is. I found that if it wasn't, it actually looked kind of funny. A key point here is the turn shadows off. If the shadows are not off, the ambient light will look very strange. Here are also the colors. Of course, these are up to you entirely. Physical sky environment, we have to change the colors from orange to blue, so whatever this hue correction percentage was is now 1. Gamma correction is still 0.5. The intensity is still 700. And of course the sky texture has changed into a nighttime sky. Now we have a very important thing to go over, that's putting in lighting. Last episode I showed you how to make a little candle light, the one we had on this table over here. But let's go over some actual lighting, such as the chandeliers we have in, say, this light over here. For fire, I'm going to actually use someone's preset. Okay, there it is. So here's the Minecraft fire rig. It was made by someone. I'll link the person in the description. So we'll drag that in. Once we have it in, we'll move it into position. I want mine to be in the chandelier down here where my mouse is moving, so I'll just get that done real quick. Alright, this is what happens when you render it on the default settings. As you can see, this does not look very nice. I don't want this. What we need to do is actually drop down this tab, and we see the light options. Click on light. What we're going to do is turn off ambient illumination. What we're also going to do is turn on visible light, and we'll set that to volumetric. We're also going to turn down the intensity slightly because that fire is insanely bright. Set mine down to 75%. We can't actually do that here. Let's move up a little bit, and we can turn the brightness down in here. We'll set that to 75%. There we go. Within the visibility settings, we're going to leave fall off on. We're going to go into noise, and we're going to set a noise for both, and we'll leave that on soft turbulence. Going under details, that's already on inverse squared by default, so we should be good there. Let's try rendering that out. Actually, no, we're going to turn the color down to a soft gray as usual. If required, we'll turn that down to 70%. I think I'll do that just in case, and we'll render this out. Alright, so it's done rendering, and if you ask me, this looks a lot better than it did a few seconds ago. Of course, this is just one light, so everything still looks kind of blue. If we added more lights, then it will give life to the environment, really. I mean, that's really all there is to it. I guess what's next is going to be my fire rig. I'll try working on C motion and trying to replicate this rig, but with interchangeable textures. Hopefully that will be what people want. So there really isn't much left for me to say. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a like rating, and leave any suggestions or feedback in the comment below. And subscribe for weekly content and tutorials. And bye!